Hi, guys. Uh, Allison McDowell shared this link on Facebook. Timid New World, the Epstein Enigma. Capturing kids. Nicole Kidman. She says Stanley told me the world is run by pedophiles. Like she wouldn't know. So yeah, we're all familiar with him, and then the questionable, the different people, all their names come up. Uh, and yeah. And of course, I'll put the link to this down below. There are all these ties and connections. And this man here, who's been in, he's just one of the ones that we're given to hate. But this goes above and beyond even him. Epstein, Gates, these guys are given. They're the ones that we're giving. They're given to us for us to see. There's a lot more behind the scenes, But tech moguls linked to Epstein, Gates, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Marvin Minsky, Jeff Bezos. And then, of course, we have Ghislaine Maxwell, who was arrested July 2nd, 2020. And her father, of course, Robert Maxwell, Czechoslovakian-born businessman, was born to Jewish parents who would be killed by the Nazis, and he came to Britain penniless at the age of 16 and built a media empire, he says. So, the questionable links between them, and Epstein didn't kill himself, as, the greatest meme of all times. So, I was scrolling on down here, and it just started to make me kind of sick at my stomach. Of course, there's talk here where Epstein hoped he would seed the human race. And, he was not only hobnobbing with the politicians and what have you, but with the scientists as well. I mean, it helps to throw money around. And so, he had connections like I just showed you earlier. And so then to get the agenda done, he just goes and puts money in these scientists' pockets so that they will go on with this eugenics and many of these young university students who just, you'll see in a moment where some of them come from power, corruption, and lies. Compare Epstein to CIA's MK Ultra program. So I'm sure all of you, of course, have heard of MK Ultra program and the LSD. But then this brings up, is Epstein linked to Mossad and IDF super troopers? Some would say yes. The Talpionium have very deep, comprehensive education in basic sciences, mainly math, physics, but a lot of understanding of materials, electronics, and computers, says retired Air Force Brigadier General Aaron Halamchi. I probably didn't say that right. Who began laying the groundwork for Talpiot in 1974. They are very capable to conquer any field they wish, so you will find them in every area of high tech and life sciences, contributing a great deal. A new Jerusalem is a Zionist police state takeover. A Starship Troopers Society is the Israeli Talpiot program, a template for the new elite education program, seeing the infiltration by military into education and societal structures? ? The movie Starship Troopers comes to mind, which is a sci-fi movie with cartoonist fascist stylists which seek to awaken the viewer in 1997 to this world we're now witnessing. The Talpiot program was established in 1979 at the initiative of Hebrew University professors following the Yom Kippur War. What those scholars had in mind was the need to establish a military technological superiority methodically, and they believed it would not only be possible through dedicated that it would only be possible through dedicated enrichment and education. They offered to recruit the cream of the crop of the technologically, scientifically inclined youngsters and provide them with dedicated training and education so as to develop new weapons. According to the program they had devised, the Talpiot recruits undergo a combat training course in the various combat units of the IDF, and after having been introduced to the diversified defense needs at first hand, they enter the stage during which they have to rack their brains. The person who bought that thesis and actually implemented the program was Chief of Staff Raphael Etan. So since 1979 to this day, 37 classes have graduated, producing a little over 1,000 graduates. Their training program consists of a high-quality academic tier, a comprehensive degree in physics, mathematics, and computer science at the National Sciences faculty at the Hebrew University, combined with dedicated and specialized military training courses throughout the IDF. The objective is for the trainees to become familiar with the operational aspects of all IDF arms, with their needs and with all their research and development trends. Initially, the trainees go through the basic training course, the paratroopers, followed by officers course. The graduates are assigned to all the R&D elements of the IDF and the Israeli Defense Establishment for a period of 6 years. They man the core positions in the most important R&D projects. The Talpiot graduates are problem solvers and challengers. For example, the ability of the IDF to technologically overcome the subterranean tunnel problem is based on the efforts of a group of stubborn Talpiot graduates who never gave up and developed the concept of the, quote, laboratory at the IDF Gaza division. That activity employs cutting-edge systems, some of which are still under development, and integrates information obtained through various technologies. The core of the IDF electronic warfare systems is also developed by Talpiot graduates who are members of a dedicated teams in the IAF and the IDF Navy. Talpiot graduates are at the system engineering core of such significant systems like the Iron Dome and OFEC satellites, and some of them invented and developed cyber systems for Unit 8200. They are the prime mover of the technological unit at the IDF Intelligence Directorate with regard to the development of unique specialized systems. They are the core of the cryptology and Security Center of the IDF C-41 Directorate with regard to cybersecurity and cryptography. Starship Troopers was an anti-fascist sci-fi movie, but does the society it resemble Israel's Talpiot program? Is this where global education is going? Military-educated super leaders. In 2014 interview on Adam Carolla Show, the actor Michael Ironside, who read the Heinlein novel as a youth, said that he asked Verhoeven, who grew up in the Nazi-occupied Netherlands, "Why are you doing a right-wing fascist movie?" He replied, "If I tell the world that a right-wing fascist way of doing things doesn't work, no one will listen to me. So I'm going to make a perfect fascist world. Everyone is beautiful, everything is shiny, everything has big guns and fancy ships, but it's only good for killing fucking bugs." The film was widely rejected in 1997. At the time, critics didn't see the double narrative and panned the film for advocating the very neo-Nazi tendencies they were trying to actively skewer. Watching the film today, 19 years removed, it's hard to understand how people missed the obvious satiric perspective with its heightened artifice, campy performances, propaganda newsreels, and clear references to Nazi flags and uniforms. So, NASA, CIA, and mind control projects, wonderkind. So this is, where you talk about the LSD comes in. The mind control. But CIA was doing mind control on children experiments. From what I've been able to discover so far, many American children, as well as children from Mexico and South America, were used over a period of about 40 years, starting around 1948. In fact, the problem may still be going on. Of course it is. Doctors and agents who administered it wanted to obtain control over the minds of these children, ostensibly to create super agents who wouldn't remember even what missions they carried out because of hypnotically induced amnesia, which could be removed by their controllers and reinstalled at will. Children were trained as sex agents, for example, with the job of blackmailing prominent Americans, primarily politicians, businessmen, and educators. A great deal of filming was done for this purpose. Eventually, people from the inner core of the CIA program filmed each other, and some of the centers where children were used as sex agents got out of control and turned into CIA operated sex rings. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and the CIA, huh? So, one person who states that he was in this program as a child said off the record they tried out their brainwashing techniques on the kids from Mexico and South America. They were considered expendable. But on another echelon of the program, they went after the best and the brightest American kids. Making perfect agents to combat the Soviets wasn't, I don't think, their ultimate objective. I can't remember what that was. So then this goes on to talk about brainstem scarring for data coding and machine-like performance in humans. And this makes me angry. Think about, wow, these children that are damaged from the vaccines that are on the market, these autistic children and all the range. And here they've been studying brainstem scarring for data coding machine-like performance. Early on, it was discovered the brain would overcompensate for scarring on the brainstem. This is a principle similar to weightlifting. By tearing down the muscle fiber by overexertion, the body rebuilds the muscle stronger. By scarring the brainstem, it was discovered that geniuses who had photographic memories could be created. Brainstem scarring was used to create the whiz kids that the New World Order needed to run their big computers. For instance, the computers that ran NASA alone uses that just NASA alone uses requires people who can work in, and then it lists all these, programs. It takes a good memory to remember computer languages and programming. These whiz kids who were both programmed with Monarch programming had their brainstem scarred, can be seen in some of the university computer departments and the intelligence military agency computer rooms. So they just stay off to the side and they watch the damage happen, and they find out which ones, or they take certain ones and they under their wing and they do the mind control and the brain scarring. And then the rest were left to deal with as parents, children, many of whom who are, can't take care of themselves. But they have the Unit 9900 for Autistic Youth Intelligence Program. Special Intelligence Unit 9900 is dedicated to everything related to geography, including mapping, interpretation of aerial and satellite photographs, and space research. Within this unit, there's a small unit of highly qualified soldiers who've been remarkably visual and analytic, who have remarkable visual and analytic capabilities. They can detect even the smallest details undetectable to most people. This program is designed to integrate young people on the autistic spectrum into the military. So, has that been the goal all along, to create these children on the autism spectrum so that they can then be turned into weapons against given enemies given to them by the Zionist? Jeffrey Epstein funded evolutionary dynamics, microbiology, and infectious diseases, no doubt. That old vaccines cause autism thing again. Doctors say vaccines may cause autism. Published 22nd of January 2019. A leading doctor who backs vaccine safety signed a sworn statement saying inoculations can cause autism in some cases. Of course they can. Brain damage. Yeah, so you have ADD, ODD, specific learning difficulties, ADHD, anxiety, Tourette's, OCD, developmental delays, gifted, sensory integration disorder, auditory processing, depression. So this is a spectrum of, and I mean, this is just sick, people. I mean, they devised this plan. They know what vaccines are and what they do, and they sit back and watch the carnage that happens. And they're going to cull a large portion of the population. I think with these new vaccines, and literally upload everyone to the cloud, and so that there will be no such thing as freedom. I mean, they will have the power over life and death over you. I mean, if you're attached to a computer, they could just shut everything off. Your time is up. They're already talking about more humane, opening them, allowing themselves to find other ways to execute people other than the pharmaceutical drug, whatever it is that they usually, lethal injection, that they can have access to. They want to be able to use a firing squad or the guillotine or whatever it is they want to use. I recently read an article how the guillotine was a more what's the word they used? A better way to kill people than lethal injection. A more humane way or some crap like that. COVID vaccine tests cause behavioral change, altered mental state, brain dysfunction. Well, speaking of brain damage, we had a guy out with one of Trump's talks, and he comes out there, and High Impact TV just talked about this in one of his videos the last couple of days, where this guy is demonstrating how his tests work, how these tests work, and he talks about it. Well, this is not the deep brain biopsy that we're talking about, and you're like, what deep brain biopsy were we talking? This is supposedly you have to stick this Q-tip way in the back of your nose to get tested for this stuff, and there was a woman that came out that said, or that had leakage, and of course they try to dismiss it. Well, she had some sort of thing there before, and it doesn't do that to everyone. Well, there's a reason why they're doing those tests like that. And the nanotechnology that's likely on the end of that Q-tip that's going right in the blood-brain barrier for all those people that have volunteered to have those tests, which is absolutely ridiculous because many of these people are not even sick. They've just offered themselves up like guinea pigs, and they will probably line right up to get these vaccines. It's because these people, everyone is on somewhat of a spectrum. When you consider that they have infected us with spirochetal disease, I mean, they learned in 1972 they could shut off the immune system and load us down. And we walk around that. Well, the study was on mice, but those mice ran around like nothing was wrong, and they turned the immune system off, and they killed themselves with a cytokine storm. So, induced immune suppression, and activated with any immune response. So, let me just go back here just a little bit. Doctor says vaccine. Okay, so pediatrician neurologist Andrew Zimmerman says vaccine fever and immune stimulation could cause autism in a subset of children with a mitochondrial dysfunction. A leading doctor who backed vaccine safety has signed a sworn statement saying inoculations can cause autism in some cases. So whether it's the whether it's the aluminum, whether it's the mercury, whether it's the actual Borrelia, because when you consider that there is no such thing as a virus, that it's morphological forms, bacterial. They're stressed lactic forms of bacteria. So multiple morphological forms. And so what have they been injecting? The turd in the punch bowl, HeLa cells, that infected all cell lines, everything they had been working with. Yet they continue on to this day. Now they're gonna roll out a new technology. This is a brand new, because it's synthetic, and it is literally to connect the human species. That everybody, everything is going to be connected to the internet of everything. You can't have that unless you are actually connected. The human being is actually connected. Then they will have full access to everything. They can rewrite your very DNA code. Now, of course, fact checkers will say that that they're not going to alter your DNA. But if you look at the papers from AstraZeneca themselves, they're using the CRISPR technology. All it takes is for you to look up to find out what CRISPR technology is, to find out it's a genome editing tool. Now, you could argue, well, they're not going to edit your DNA. They're editing the DNA of this said virus. Or, well, no, what they're going to enter into is synthetic. And they're tricking the body to get it in there with a lipid nanoparticle. And Craig Venter, go back and listen to what he said, when he came out, when he talked about Cynthia and how it's his creation, he calls it, because not one molecule was left of the original once he put in that synthetic DNA, and it rewrote the entire organism. So what happens? Is your soul gonna stick around? Will we be trapped in our body and not be able? Is that the hell, when you want to die and you can't die, and you're trapped in the body, and something else is able to take over you? I mean, think about it. They have turned us into chimeras because they've been injecting multiple different animals and other human DNA parts. And is it any wonder that there is gender confusion? And what goes along with that DNA from that aborted fetus? Is their soul tethered to the DNA? And so, and they immortalize these cells, and so they grow and they grow and they grow. That child doesn't get to rest in peace. Henrietta Lacks doesn't get to rest in peace. Her cells have gone on, and the mutations, she has over 200 chromosomes in the HeLa cells, where we have 23. So there is just there. Okay, I digress. I've kind of gotten off, but let's talk about COVID-19 test causes behavioral change. The volunteer who signed the informed consent form on September 29th, 2020, was administered a test for antibodies against COVID-19 due to rule out prior infection, and received a vaccine shot on October 1st. The Covishield vaccine is a double-dose vaccine trial, with some volunteers getting an actual vaccine and some a placebo, 28 days apart. A test 11 days later revealed the presence of antibodies, quote-unquote, proof the person had indeed received the vaccine and not a placebo. 10 days after the shot, he complained of a severe headache, followed by vomiting, that confined him to bed for the rest of the day. His wife, according to the legal notice, said there was a total behavioral change in her husband, and he seemed unaware of his surroundings. He showed irritation towards light and sound, and was resisting any effort made to get him up from the bed. The notice states he was taken in an ambulance to the emergency ward of the Sri Ramachandra Medical College and Hospital. The hospital's discharge summary, which the Hindu has viewed, notes that he was in an altered mental state and was disoriented during his hospitalization from the October 11th to October 26th when he was discharged. He underwent a CT scan as well as an MRI and a COVID 19 test, and even his cerebrospinal fluid was examined. He was also shifted to the intensive care unit. The patient's wife told the Hindu that her husband had not entirely recovered. We are consulting another neurologist at the Apollo Hospital, and his test confirmed dysfunction in his brain. He's recovering slowly and is better than what he was in October, but is unable to work as before, and he is passionate about his work, she says. So this was the Covishield vaccine volunteer sues Serum Institute of India. Wow, this was just came out. Wow. So was Epstein working for the Mossad to develop a strain of super kids? Does it explain why Junkerman's involvement with the UK NHS and global soccer's corruption? Is there a FIFA super athlete program? Spooky links number 3 to Panama Papers, Carbine 9/11, and Epstein, Nicole Junkerman, corporate state data management. The Epstein associate nobody's talking about. The IDF linked Bond girl infiltrating the UK's NHS. FIFA, corruption, the Panama Papers, and the Mossad. I have a story to tell you, a story that causes my heart to pound and my blood pressure to rise as I type each and every word. A true story of a woman of great wealth and power who rode on Jeffrey Epstein's Lolita Express private jet on several occasions. She appears to be German-born Israeli state intelligence operative based in London, an ex-model whose name appeared in the Panama Papers from the Mossack Fonseca leaks, and who became embroiled in the FIFA corruption scandal with Sepp Blatter and his family. She is perhaps the closest example you could possibly find a real-life Bond girl, yet she's almost completely unknown to the majority of us. This lady has recently infiltrated the NHS through the UK Department of Health and Social Care with the help of Matt Hancock MP, and her presence signifies a major threat to the data security of every citizen of the United Kingdom. Every single piece of data about you, your health issues, your blood type, the model of the wireless pacemaker keeping you alive, every detail of every embarrassing medical problem in the hands of the Israeli state apparatus and potentially sold off to the highest bidder. You may think this doesn't concern you. Why would you need to worry about a foreign far-right government which has been proven to meddle in the affairs of our country? Your data would be useless to them, surely. But that's not the world we live in anymore. Big data is the modern gold rush. The psychologists and marketing agents have mastered how to make you buy things. The next step is for them to successfully master making you do things. And for that kind of control over people, they need everybody's data. I would just argue that it's going farther than the data. Yes, they need the data, and they will have the data from you, from your molecular processes. They can require you to do something and then be able to tell in your body if you've done it. They can deliver you drugs, deliver you these new vaccines, and there's a platform of vaccines. They no longer even claim that vaccines are about preventing infection or preventing the spread of infection. They claim that they will lessen the symptoms of the disease. They install the disease in you and it will lessen the supposed symptoms of it. They're installing in a synthetic creation to trick your immune system. So it is doing a rewrite, an edit. And it doesn't have anything to do with a microchip being connected to you. But there are these scientists that have created these synthetic creations in the lab, have written in little sayings. They watermark it with their names written in them. There's a whole thing written into Cynthia, so that if people got access to this and they could break the code, there's even an email address. So I mean, it's they mark their work. My point is, so if you take these vaccines, and likely because if you're like me and you didn't know any better until the last year, I had all the vaccines. Unfortunately, I'm trying to recover from this new one. I don't think that we'll be able to undo. And we may already have edited DNA because they've been at this for a long time. There's XNA, there's GNA. Um, they've been altering our food. They've been spraying nanotech in the air. Redefining the purpose of education via STEM, science, tech, engineering, and math. Accelerating workforce, reskilling for the fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, I mean, they literally want to track people from cradle to grave. Reskilling for the fourth industrial revolution. Hundreds of millions of workers will need reskilling. And see these children who are damaged and don't think for themselves. They can program easily to do this, and they don't have, and many of these children oftentimes don't have the same emotional connection. Maybe they don't feel empathy, so or maybe they don't have a connection about feeling guilty about doing something, so they can go and easily sit in front of it like playing a video game and press that button and blow people up and not have any qualms about doing so. So they not only could take the brightest, the cream of the crop, and train them, but even the damaged ones. See, they offer with the autism program to give them work. You see, we need reskilling revolution. In the early 2000s, Jeffrey Epstein began pitching his great idea for the future of humanity to his scientific friends. The New York Times reports Mr. Epstein's goal was to have 20 women at a time impregnated in his 33,000 square foot Zorro ranch in a tiny town outside of Santa Fe. So some of this is almost ridiculousness. Who knows if this guy did, if he really wanted to do this, but this is just, nothing would surprise me. Jeffrey Epstein and transhumanism, that does not surprise me that he would want to have all these girls have his DNA, have seeding the human race. No, wow. But to do studies on people, I don't doubt for 1 second that that he would willingly use all of these young people, these women, for his own nefarious purposes, and for in mind control and in medical experiments. So who knows what these poor girls have been through. Inside the Army's futuristic test of its battlefield of artificial intelligence. So they're preparing us for the beast system, the rollout. There's this talk that breeding based on genetic sequencing. Jeffrey Epstein funded geneticist is building a dating app that only a eugenicist could love. Renowned Harvard Medical School geneticist George Church has focused his work on reversing the effects of aging and helping humans become immune to viruses and eradicating genetic diseases. See, yeah, well, they look at us like the virus. You see, the problem is these people, the very elite at the top, they're Zionist, and they don't even look at us as human. So altering our DNA, George Church is, like I said, another one like Craig Venter. They're hell-bent on regenesis, on rewriting all of life in this biosphere. and to make all of us slaves. And who knows? Maybe do they have some of Epstein's DNA put away somewhere that they're seeding the human race with? Who knows? Who knows what is funded? AI entity Sophia. In 2013, he was described by Forbes as the financial guru behind. So I don't know who they're talking about. Here, let's see. Hanson. Okay, here we go. Robotic nervous system. The challenge in all this, Jeffrey Epstein remarked, is who funds the project along with the Hong Kong Innovation in Technology Fund is to create a robotic nervous system that can perceive concepts in its environment as effectively as virtual avatars. Robots are quickly evolving. Yes, then we have, thanks to an ingenious group of artificial intelligence scientists from Hong Kong and Texas, uh, robots are quickly evolving from direction-driven machines to free-thinking, non-deterministic humanoids. Well, for a long time, robots looked largely like clunky machines that relied on deterministic algorithmic pathways. Over the last decade, however, Hanson Robotics, based in Richardson, Texas, has revolutionized the appearance of robots with responsive facial expressions, synthesized rubber skin, called Shrubber, and delicate features. Collaborator Mark Tyden, creator of Beam Robotics and the Wowie Robo Sapien humanoid robot, has produced complex robotic movements from analog logic circuits, discrete electronic components, and usually without a microprocessor. And to fill their heads, artificial intelligence group OpenCog has stepped in to give these humanoid sculptures a brain. Based in Hong Kong, OpenCog, an open source AI programming group under the direction of Ben Gortzel, began their cerebral project with a Hanson Robokind, a toddler like robot. The challenge is to take the basic intelligence of virtual avatars programmed for the screen and transfer that to a robotic structure. To do this, however, the robot must have the capacity to perceive and interpret the outside world. To a large extent, OpenCog's virtual characters have that capacity. For example, each character has a database called an atom space, where thousands of atoms exist as knowledge concepts, as objects, actions, and feelings: anger, fear, happiness. Every time a character spatially encounters objects or concepts in its environment, a new atom is duplicated in that character's atom space. Associations are also recorded by character moves from one concept to another. Upon repetition, associative links get stronger, influencing a character's pathway choices and building associative memory. Links can also decay over time if not used by algorithms. Generalized intelligence from the environment has also built similarities between concepts, trigger an associative network in the atom space. Indeed, several algorithms can function at the same time, such as current associative links and associative networks that are triggered due to similarities. The theory behind this cognitive synergy is that humans have multiple thought processes going on simultaneously. Prioritizing one over others is in order to function. Virtual characters also have basic needs programmed into them, which can get depleted or filled by inaction with the environment. The status need has a significant impact on which pathways a character chooses to take. For example, if the need for water is high, a character will prioritize water atom in its pathway choice. The challenge in all this, Epstein remarked, who funds the project along with the Hong Kong Innovation in Technology Fund, is to create a robotic nervous system that can perceive concepts in its environment as effectively as virtual avatars. To date, Jeffrey Epstein's foundation plays an active role in supporting neuroscience around the world. In addition to establishing the program for evolutionary dynamics at Harvard, the foundation is one of the largest funders of individual scientists, including Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking, 50 years, ALS, okay. And Nobel laureate physicist Gerald T. Hooft, David Cross, and Frank Wilczek. OpenCog is well on its way to developing a nervous or perceptive system, focusing currently on basic language. AI entity Sophia. In 2013, he was described by Forbes as a financial guru behind an effort by OpenCog, an ambitious open source software project to develop emotional software for the gaming industry. Describing the effort. And see, that's another thing. The games, they created the television for us, and gave us the. Then they gave us the gaming system. Which just literally is more programming, more desensitizing us, and more getting us used to what they're trying to create now, which is a literal simulated reality of everything. And here they're talking about the avatar. But so it's somewhat like building a car with no instructions, but our impression of what a car can do. His EpsteinScience.com website highlighting his investments has been taken offline, but there's some archive pages out there. So this OpenCog founder, Ben Gortzel, who has thanked Epstein for his visionary funding of my AGI research, teamed up with roboticist David Hansen to create the world's smartest robot. As Gortzel put it, they were pursuing robots with basic common sense understanding of the everyday human world. Sophia, a robot parodied on Silicon Valley a few years ago, is powered by OpenCog's code, which lets her respond and react to users' emotional states. In an episode of the HBO comedy, an actor with a strong resemblance to Gortzel played Sophia's creepy creator. Gortzel did not return a request for comment from Fast Company, but Hansen, in a statement, asserted that none of Epstein's funds were used towards Sophia or the benefit Hansen Robotics. Oh, okay, right. A journalist claims Jeffrey Epstein told him he funded a robot named Sophia. And weren't we just talking about Sophia recently? Sophia, who was merging with the Palantir, Sophia's brain, the Palantir ball. Yeah. Israel's involvement in that, Saudi Arabia, President Trump. Ethiopian Supergirl worked wonders in robotics and AI in her teens. So Epstein apparently, I guess, had something to do. Apparently, Texas is involved in this too, which I guess I didn't realize. Lovely with Sophia. Little Sophia by Hansen Robotics. And I find it so amazing that they've chosen Sophia for this. When you think about Sophia for the Gnostics, having to do with wisdom. So Sophia's the robot's little sister and a new kind of STEM, AI, and coding learning companions for ages 8+. She's 14 inches tall, and your robot friend that helps make learning for STEM coding and an AI a fun and rewarding adventure for kids 8 years old, especially girls. Wow, little Sophia can walk, talk, sing, and play games like her big sister tell jokes. Wow. With little Sophia's software and included tutorials through Hansen's AI Academy, she's a unique programmable educational companion for kids, inspiring children to learn through a safe, interactive human-robot experience. Kids, educators, and even Sophia the robot fans, regardless of age, will find little Sophia irresistible. Are you kidding me? Something else to babysit people's children. What? The robot will then, raise the children now? Wow. Spying on kids. UK's primary school infiltrated by cyber intelligence, the MI5, revealed the UK's largest intelligence agency. And for some reason, the photos are not shown here. I've refreshed. Spying on kids. UK's primary school infiltrated. Declassified UK can reveal that Government Communications Headquarters, Britain's largest intelligence agency, has gained access to at least 2,200 primary and secondary school children in dozens of UK schools. See, it's disturbing. They want the children. They think the children are theirs. They're not your children. They're their children. They're the government's. And these evil people, they want to inject your children with vaccines when they're 11 years old, and they don't have to tell you. And get them all online. If people didn't let their children online, I'm not saying that that this a lot of this stuff wouldn't happen, but a lot of it, um, these pedophiles and these websites, it's crazy. And yet you can probably they probably get away with all this crap on YouTube, uh, and Google. Yet they want to censor and call people out for anyone who dares question all of this. And this person has put together quite a bit of information for you. The amount of data being collected is staggering. EdTech companies of all sizes, from basement startups to global conglomerates, have jumped into the game. The most adept are scooping up as many as 10 million unique data points on each child each day. That's orders of magnitude more data than Netflix or Facebook or even Google collect on their users. Wow. The big biz of spying on little children. And people have no idea. And they're, readily signing their kids up for all this monitoring and the connection to the internet. And people don't see it, especially the young people. I see my daughter and my son-in-law. I mean, things just have advanced so much in my lifetime, from, having a black and white TV in the house. You had to get up and go over and turn the channel to the phases that happen. But life has changed exponentially from the time that was allowed into most homes. And then look at where technology is today. With my kids, with VCRs, and they were pros at running the VCR when they were very young, and the first video games, and now they're most of it's all obsolete. Although I still have tons of VCR tapes, and I I hang on and reminisce about uh, the old days when everything wasn't tied to the internet. Um, so We Play Smart 3.0 by Hatch is a state-of-the-art multi-touch table that provides a cooperative, interactive learning environment for 2 to 4 children at a time. As children play together, they will develop core literacy and math skills. So how impersonal. I mean, and gain the social, emotional, and cognitive skills they will need for academic successes in kindergarten and beyond. Oh, well, I'm surprised they don't have them with a picture. This company doesn't have it updated with mask because of the ridiculousness. And they want the children to be all online anyways. Preloaded software with a year's worth of activities. Wow, to over 275. Little Sodo. So you can buy this table and have all this stuff on it. Wow. While tablet-based games are useful to track cognitive academic tasks, those pushing social emotional learning investments require ever more sophisticated tools to capture behavioral data linked to group dynamics. They want to be programming you. They want to be capturing it and programming these children and controlling their interaction and their behavior. Wow. And digital surveillance of everything. I guess we it'll be like having a camera attached to us 24 hours a day. Well, AI, I guess, will become what, omniscient, omnipotent, turning schools into private for-profit data centers. Why we must not allow the fourth industrial revolution or great reset to happen. How Silicon Valley and the elite are converting the poor into profitable commodities. What Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, and the World Economic Forum have in common? The looming danger of stakeholder capitalism, aka poverty management capitalism. How the Internet of Things, 5G, cloud computing, blockchain, and smart cities tie in together. And I would also add that, and something that no one ever seems to talk about, and that is the Li-Fi. I never hear anyone bring that up except for Mork Ellen's Live. Michelle talks about the Li-Fi. So people talk about 5G, but they don't talk about all the LED lighting that's gone in everywhere as well. So how the technocrats are harvesting our children's biometric and behavioral data through virtual reality tech. Why UNICEF doesn't want children to grow up in the natural, real world. How doctors are being set up as the new jailers under the new normal. So, Julianne Romanello, interviewed by Jason Bosch. I listened to this interview when it came out on the 19th. Great discussion. And I believe she's in Oklahoma. So I don't know who put all this together. It's really a lot of information. But it just shows that they're going after our children. Not creepy at all, is it? Gym virtual. New Zoom online gymnastics class are in session. Are you freaking kidding me? So where they're going to charge people to join a stupid virtual gym and do gymnastics online? Yeah, that's not creepy at all. Then who gets access to these cameras? So, all of these tech companies and these companies like Israel. So, see, why would they have to hire anybody to spy on anyone anymore? We give them all of our information. Wow. And our whole lives revolve around doing everything on the internet. Putin says the nation that leads in AI will be the ruler of the world. Well, yeah, he did say that. We have to stand up, speak up, and stop this insanity. And it's so much is occurring on the local level. These changes are being implemented, especially Texas. In Texas, Israel has so much influence over, and believe it or not, Bill Gates over the education that under their philanthropy, his philanthropy. But Gates is just one to be that we're given. There are many behind the scenes. Here's another. This is Remember George Church. This is a whole new era where we're moving beyond little edits on single genes to be able to write whatever we want throughout the genome. The goal is to be able to change it as radically as our understanding permits. Yeah. So, quite a long little read here that they put together for me. And let me see if I can find out who put this out. The author. Captain Wardrobe again. I'm not sure who Captain Wardrobe is. But yeah, it's disturbing. And I know I'm going to try to see if I can find. Wait, I know. Art. Hang on for a second. I'm going to see if I can find Franzetta's new. Okay, so here I'm going to switch over here to the Art of Franzetta. It says this link may be disturbing. Click here to see the uncensored version. I'm trying to. Okay, here we go. And this is disturbing. This is the Vicar of Charon. Pope, with whatever that thing is in the back. It's creepy, but he's got a syringe in his hands and he's in a sea of blood with babies. And I agree with Patrick on the point where, I think that the children who died, because their body wouldn't integrate with this crap that they inject them with at the beginning of the first day of life. Now they want to inject these children with hepatitis B vaccine, but the ones that die in are probably better off, because then you have all of these ones that are damaged in all of the different autism spectrum, and it's all around the spectrum, and there's so much damage, and they never admit, or they would fight you, with everything they had to try to deny that any of the damage comes from vaccines when they know it does. They know. So anyways, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, you lead the masses of 1 billion asses and tell them what to do and think. They follow you blindly because you speak so kindly, and you take them to the brink of the abyss. Your words betray you, the truth doth flay you, to be a posturing fool, a puppet of powers that makes the world cower to a militarized religion of ghouls. No reasonable person would give daughter or son as sacrifices for good. Chimeric pollution is your final solution beneath Lucifer's hood of vaccine kiss. Punishments of hell when we all become ill from advice born of evil intent is not enough for you or your evil crew, nor will our rage and fury be eternally spent. The souls of the babies doomed by your rabies of foaming papal bulls will never have rest until your crown and crest have melted in the fires of hell. Then cometh bliss. So this is Patrick. And he goes through and explains, he talks about organ donors, and how the question is, how much memory goes, cellular memory. And then when you consider, using aborted fetal cells in vaccines, and there are a couple of candidates that are using them. Now, it's possible that there's cellular memory on a DNA level, and these poor fetuses are, like I said, immortalized, and they don't get to die in peace. It just horrifies me. It pulls at my heart. So these children floating here, many of them may be still being tortured because they have cells that are being immortalized and used in vaccines to inject into your children, into you and to me. And you have the Pope that stands up and says, "Oh, it's okay. They're dead anyways. They were given up voluntarily." Really? And, so it's really disturbing, the picture. But when you hang on. Let's see. Franzetta and I had lengthy discussions of the validity of this piece as a work of political art, whether or not it crossed the line, if it was gratuitous in its graphic nature, if it had merit as a documentary, if, to paraphrase, if rendering something like this didn't make us as grotesque as they are. My candid response was that if she was disturbed by the image, if she could not stand behind it, then I would fully support her in any way. Since you're viewing the image, then what you're witnessing is the documentary of atrocities, like a photojournalist would go to a war-torn country to bring raw image of the suffering and bloody death. What sets us apart from them is that we not only provide the image to shock, thus grabbing attention, but then go to such lengths to explain in detail why this horror has to be exposed for public viewing, with the warning that it is indeed disturbing. Why? Because the second discovery by Pavlov was that in order to erase conditioning in his dogs, it took a trauma to erase the previous conditioning. Not being specialist at mind control, we can only consider if such horrific image will provide the shock that will then allow the MK victim to bring themselves out of hypnosis, and that is where 14 pages of text come in to give history and context, and possibly the hand that reaches into that bloody river to pull out any survivors. Why so graphic? Why so shocking? For juxtaposition, you can read, "Thou shalt not kill," Exodus 20:13. You can be given apologetics that it means you shouldn't murder, but what you don't get in context is that it means you aren't supposed to kill. These rules don't apply to God's chosen. When you read the Vatican statement, you shouldn't kill unless those babies were already dead, and then it's fine to shoot them into you and your offspring. And don't mind the pig gelatin that was rendered down, because it's no longer a pig when it's in a vaccine. After all, the imams and rabbis assure us that it's okay because it's being shot into you, therefore you're not eating it. Yes, they actually said it was okay for them to inject pigs into themselves, but they can't eat pork. So I couldn't even begin to read all of this. But oftentimes I see here in big letters, at best, families that were gaslighted or ignored, or in the best tradition of warfare by deceit, the parents were blamed for the injury and death of their own children when it was done by the three clans of Noah, where it was done by these witch doctors. And people say, oh no, the vaccines save lives. People have been so programmed and brainwashed, and never mind the fact that we have been injected with all of these things. And they talk about junk DNA. It's not junk DNA. It's the DNA from all of these other things that they have injected into us. So I mean, I really hope that people are paying attention, and maybe we can stop the insanity before any more damage is done.